this workshop. The persons, the farmers, the technical officers, or the officers here from Beaufort, from Culture, from NADA, we want to welcome you. We hope that whatever we do here, whatever our discussion is, it will be on great knowledge imparting you, and that it will be a good experience, so that we will, whatever we learn, we can implement it in the fields, so that we can help the farmers. So without further ado, I want to acknowledge Ms. Hannah Romain as well, the head of our unit. We want to welcome you as well. Welcome everyone. Without further ado, I hand you over to the next person. Thank you very much.
My name is Laura Francis, and I will stand so we can have a word of prayer. Mr. Kenneth Elder will help us with that.
Okay, shall we pray? Eternal God, we are grateful to be in your presence. Father, we pray that this session will run smoothly. We pray every participant here will absorb and implement the teachings that is going to be taught. Father, we pray for genuine mercies for those who will yet still live on their ways. Father, we pray everything, O God, will go according to your grace. In Jesus' name, amen.
Currently, we will invite Ms. Hannah Romain to give us a brief remark on the awareness campaign on the Icerya seychellarum of Seychelles state. Thank you, Mrs. Romain.
Thank you, Laura. We don't have a microphone, but I think my mouth is big enough and everybody can hear me. Alright, are you ready from the back? So good morning, everyone. Good morning. I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome you to this session this morning. It's been a pleasure to be here with you at this very important and necessary training. And as extension officers, farmers, and other critical staff, crop protection officers, I think this training is very excellent when you have good guys around. Thank you, Ms. Kelly. Okay. It's good to have you around and to be part and to join you rather and with a campaign of that nature. So in March of 2024, when we heard of an incursion of a new pest, I think it was roseau, all right, to be exact, when we were called at the Plant Research and Development Division to inform us that there was this strange sighting and all of the trees were blackened and this dark powder, and there was some, unusual sighting of a pest. It was very new to us when we heard of it, very new. I recall it was Miss Johnny, Miss Francis, who quickly came up and said, critical role that they play in safeguarding our agriculture. Many times the farmers visit many countries and they say to themselves, oh, this is a very beautiful variety. Saint Lucia Panisa, Saint Lucia. And this is a common thing and you are used to it. You visit farmers' holdings and you see strange, or not strange I would say, but varieties that have not been known to exist in Saint Lucia. And you find them around and you hear farmers say, and some of them are very bold. But these are the risks that they expose us to when they introduce new varieties without the proper procedures. You find the entry of those pests and diseases. So this morning, following the initial detection of the scale in Saint Lucia, after we had authoritative identification, the division came together and decided with the lead of Ms. Francis to put together an integrated pest management plan. Because we know as soon as there is detection, the next thing the farmers will ask is, how do we control it? So this is why you are here today. We are here to ensure that you are part and parcel of the process. We've already developed a comprehensive surveillance and monitoring plan to ensure a successful management of this pest. Our approach is one of vigilance and rapid response, and your involvement will be key in ensuring that we can respond quickly and effectively should the Seychelles scale move right across the island. Okay, and just to put this into context, this Seychelles scale originated way in the east. And some may say, but so far in the east, how did this thing get here? And you do understand the nature of hitchhiker pest. Hitchhikers, they can come in on anything. They can come in on clothing, they can come in on vehicles, they can come in several things. But they do find their way in. And the sad part is when they do come in, they don't come in most of the times with their natural enemies. In the country of origin, you do have natural enemies, and those natural enemies work very quickly in reducing their population. But in our situation, they may not have come in with their natural enemies. So you find that they will continue thriving and doing a lot of damage even before the natural enemies that we have in Saint Lucia are aware that they are present. So what you do find very early when there is an introduction of a new pest, there is an upsurge of that pest. And it may take a little while. And if you may see, if you do monitor pests in Saint Lucia, you will realize that the coconut mite has gone down a bit, the incidence has gone down. The pink mealybug, in the past, we hardly could have probably planted a hibiscus hedge, and today you see many persons are now growing their hibiscus hedges. It's because the natural enemies are now set in and they are under control. So here we are today now to introduce you to a new integrated management plan that we have put together to ensure that we can keep this pest under control. So together, our collective efforts, we can stay ahead of this threat and protect our agricultural resources. Thank you for your commitment and dedication to this important task, and I look forward to the discussions and insights that will arise from today's session. Thanks to Ms. Laura Francis for her dedication and hard work in ensuring that this training comes to fruition. Let us get started and work together to ensure the future health and sustainability of our agriculture. With this, I say thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Roda. So we will be discussing the scale and also rosetting mites. So we have around 3 alien invasive species that have entered our shores, and Mr. Smith will discuss the rosetting mites. So presently we'll have Salifa James to do the icebreaker, just to have you relax before I proceed in doing my presentation.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Salifa James. I think all of you know, well, most of you know me. So today I was given the privilege to do the icebreaker. And all of us know what's an icebreaker, to make you feel everybody know that's a common word on social media, at least nowadays. So, yes, I'm very reserved. For those who doesn't know, I'm very reserved. I'm very shy, very quiet. So, I'll get to know your characters. I know a lot of your names, so we'll start with, not Sheridan. We'll start with Malad.
Just one word?
Just one word.
Well, I like interaction. Interacting.
Reserve, just like Sabitha. That's a copycat. You want to patient.
The Seychelles scale was introduced in Saint Lucia in early March, like its Roman stated. Now, this insect is a polyphagous, meaning that it feeds on a wide host of plant species, and it feeds on a lot of sap. The sap has little protein, so this insect feeds highly on the sap, hence why the toxic saliva causes leaf drop or yellowing, stunted growth, and eventually the plant will die. It was first discovered in South Africa in 1902 on a rose and ficus. Now, for this reason, we know in Saint Lucia we have a lot of tree crops. We know we have our banana, we have plantain, we have avocado. So we need to safeguard our agricultural sector. So integrated pest management is very important to safeguard our agriculture in Saint Lucia and also help with sustainable development. So this presentation provides an overview, of the following: the biology of the pest, the life cycle, and followed by a detailed IPM. Introduction, sorry. So this is a taxonomic classification of the pest. You don't have to worry about all these big words. What you have to remember, it is a hemiptera, meaning that insect scales belong to hemiptera or mealybugs. There are many common names. We choose to say breadfruit mealybug, but that can be a little confusing because once I say breadfruit mealybugs, everybody will say, I don't have breadfruit. But we have to understand that it feeds on a wide host of plant species. So we have Seychelles scales, silver cushion scales, breadfruit mealybug, iceplant scale, and Westwood scale. So all these are common names. This is the life cycle of the scale. It has an incomplete metamorphosis, or a hemimetamorphosis, meaning that it has the eggs, nymph, and adult. The adults, the female, begins to lay the eggs once it's established on the host plant. The time frame for egg to adult would be like 6 to 8 weeks. Eggs are laid in rows in the ovisacs. The eggs are normally light yellow. Eggs hatch in about 1 to 2 weeks. The nymphal stage lasts about 2 to 3 weeks. Adults typically live for 1 to 2 months. The biology of the pest. This insect, you see it's really big there, but it's magnified. It's 6 to 9 millimeters long and 4 millimeters wide. And it is oval. It has a lot of hair-like filaments. You could see that pattern, the adults, the mature adults, are normally dark yellow. You see white and dark yellow. Now this insect is a hermaphrodite. It has both male and female sex organ. This is due because the male is red. If the male appears or if it's there, they normally have wings and they are smaller than the female. And their lifespan is very short. So the female don't need the male to reproduce. So that is why they are called hemiphermatic, meaning that they produce the offspring from unfertilized eggs. Like I said a while ago, pathogenesis, meaning that the reproductive stage of the the female. The female lays the eggs in rows or bands, and normally they lay about 33 eggs. Now the number of eggs laid is determined by the plant they feed on. So if they have a suitable host, they will produce more eggs. If the host is not suitable, they will produce less eggs. And dispersal normally occurs through balloon of the corolla. The corolla is the most active part of the life cycle. So normally the corollas will move and they will establish themselves, and then they will feed on the plant. And after they feed on that plant, they will go to the molting stage. So the corollas are the first insect. So what we have to do as agricultural sector or technical officers, we have to know when the corollas are available or exist, so we can resort to management strategies. People also transfer that insect. Normally, for example, Martinique has it and Dominica. So people traffic back and forth from Saint Lucia to Dominica and Martinique. They can take planting material, ficus or avocado, or even hide a mango. And these insects, they hide. So sometimes you don't see them, and they're part of the plant, and they transfer that insect to Saint Lucia. Next. Now the biology. There are 4 peaks where you will get the insects more prevalent. We have 1 peak in March, 1 in August, 1 in mid-September, and 1 in October also. October has 1. Now there's a positive correlation of that insect to relative humidity. Once the temperature is high, you get an increase of it. Hence why we had that, we discovered it in March. It's part of one of the peaks. And there was a high infestation of it. Now there's a negative correlation with that insect. Once there's a lot of rainfall, the population level will be low. Distribution of the pests. It has been discovered or detected in over 70 countries. Europe, Central and South America, and other countries, and the Caribbean countries. Saint Lucia, Dominica, Martinique. Now this is what I was speaking about. Since we have the close proximity of these 2 islands, Dominica and Martinique, and the trade and the movement of people, the insects would have come to Saint Lucia. Now, where it was discovered, next slide. Where it was discovered is in Roseau, the distillery area, in the vicinity there. There are a lot of people from Martinique that are coming in, because the distillery is owned by the French people, so you have a lot of tours. There's the river right there. So you have people coming in and out, so that's why. Whatever reason, how they brought it in, we're not too sure, but we know it came in. Okay. Yes, because that's one of the hosts. So the scale insect has a wide range of hosts, as I indicated. Avocado, mangoes, citrus, papaya, soursop, even lettuce, some vegetables. So it is a pest that we should monitor closely. Now, one of the distinctive characteristics of the infestation of that pest is the soot mold. You could see the dark brown, like Mr. Roman mentioned. So the honeydew, they secrete honeydew. And as a result of that, this causes soot mold. So the plants can be unattractive, especially the fruit, the soursop or the pawpaw, the mangoes. If you were to go to a store and buy a fruit, you will not take an avocado with full of soot mold or guava, right? So you all agree? So it can be unattractive, and also the soot mold can cause reduction in photosynthesis. The plant will produce less food. So this is a higher infestation. That's samples we collected from Roseau. Like I said earlier on, photosynthesis and respiration would be affected by the soot mold and the plant, making the fruits unattractive. Next slide. In worst cases, we have a high infestation right there. Now that plant will eventually die, because 2 of the plants in Roseau, avocado plants, half of them are completely dead. I tried to get the photo, but it was a little too late. They are dead. So with high infestation of these scale insects, the plants can die. Now we know we love our mangoes, our guava, our avocado. If we don't take action in managing these pests, we will lose our tree crops. Economical threshold, when to move. When to move, drastic action is when you have 27.25 or 27 adults per leaf. And we know normally the adults are a position, underneath the leaves, the mid-rings. So once we see that, we monitor the plants and we see that, we need to take action. Now this is on a fern in Roseau. So they don't have preferences. Once they establish one place and they get other tree around, they will go on it, they will feed on it. This is what I'm speaking about. This is a guava leaf, and you see the mid-ring, that's where they are established. Next slide. Detection, we have them in 4 regions. Region 1 and 2. Region 2, in Union area, we saw it there by our lab. No, we didn't bring it there, it was there already. On a mango tree. Babono, Kako babono on some guava plants. There are other places in region 2. It was there, but I will not mention. Region 8 on an avocado tree next to the extension office. Region 3, so I didn't bring it there. Region 3 in Denver. So that's the areas that we know. That's where the pest is. But we need to do no, we're not too sure where in Denver. Mr. Roman, you can share some light where in Denver? Okay, so Denry, Wajoli. So we know where to look for them. So after this training, we will do an island-wide survey to find out exactly where else it is, so we can resort to management strategies. Detection site. One of them is March 20th, 2024. It was on Mr. Francis' farm in Region 7. It was found on an isolated avocado tree. This is it right here. And then the same week, we got all the calls from the distillery. It was on an avocado plant next to the gate, a huge tree, berry tree, I'm not even sure of the name, and some mango trees, and then proceeded to some ferns in the tissue culture area. They have some tree crops area, sorry. So this is it, Union. One of them was on a mango, the Judy mango, next to our office. Next slide. So identification is very critical in managing this scale. If we don't know what we're looking for, we will not be able to manage it. Do you all agree? Yeah. So when this pest was brought to our attention, what we did, we rushed, we took samples, we sent it for taxonomic verification, and then we started working on it. This is one of the process where I took some of the samples and I processed it in the lab. This is one sample. That was one of the first samples before we got the dino-light microscope. And you could see, you're gonna see the parts properly, right? So, but we still proceeded in doing that. Now, this is when we got the dino-light, thanks to SAP project. We took it, and this was one of the samples. Now, you could see the distinctive characteristic would be the beaded antennae, and they have the brown legs. Once you see that, once you flip over the insert, that's one of the distinctive characteristics. Identification. So this is a copy of the sample we sent, and that's what was sent from the university. Myself, along with Miss Sherry and Johnny, Mrs. Romain, we came with the same idea that it was Icerya seychellarum scale. And Dr. Khan from the University of the West Indies further verified it, and then the taxonomic verification, Dr. Erin Howell gave us that information. So it's a teamwork. We came together and we did a teamwork. Steffi Ramin and Emia Duncan, they will also help in collecting samples for us. So it's a teamwork. Next slide. So integrated pest management. With effective integrated pest management, these pests can be controlled. So we must do accurate identification first, and then we can resort to various management strategies. Next slide. So the objective of the IPM is to manage the scale. Do not let it reach a level that our crops in Saint Lucia or our agricultural industry can be affected. We know that pesticide is the last resort in integrated pest management. So first thing we'll do is not go and use any pesticide, but see how we can manage this pest. We know when using pesticide, our beneficial organisms can be destroyed. And we know that scale, yes, it came into our shores, but it also came with its beneficial organism. Detection is very critical. Early detection, timely detection is critical. So if, like Mrs. Robin said, if the farmers or the relevant individuals from Roseau Valley did not say anything to us, we would not know and move or act on that. You have something to say, Mr. Felix?
Well, I wanted to ask, to say something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Since also was a place that was identified, right? In that area there's a pot.
Yeah.
So was there any monitoring or anything, or just leave from? Was it easily came through the pot?
It can be through the ports and can be through the traffic of the tourists coming in. Because there's a lot of French people coming in, and it is in Martinique and in Guadeloupe. So it can be. So preventative measures, we know we have to monitor and implement preventative management strategies, to reduce the risk of these pests. We need to know what predators to use, what parasitoids that are available in Saint Lucia in order for us to manage it before we resort to using pesticide. So that's on, go back, this is on where the orchard, they had 3 crops. So that's one of the avocado plants. We had some on the breadfruit plant and some fruits. Yes. So our intention is to do an island-wide survey. So we go to all the 7 regions, and then we can have this information sitting that, okay, for true it's in 4 regions, was in 4 regions, but actually it's in 5 or 6 regions. Next slide. So monitoring and identification, the sticky traps can be used as a means of monitoring and management, but it has not been, research has proven that it has not been used in many countries, but it can be used. Once there is a suitable lure for it, it can be used. Also, like I said earlier on, identification is critical. So all our extension officers, farmers, and all stakeholders should be trained to be able to identify the pest. We have the pink mealybug right here. You can see it has the ants also. So the ants have that symbiosis relationship with it. And also the scale. So if you see the 2 of them, you'll be able to identify it. Do you all agree? So don't mistake the pink mealybug for the Seychelles scale. Sanitation. Removal of infested plant parts. One of the farmers in Roseau, they did some pruning of the lower leaves, and that helped to manage it. So you can remove the infested part. You can put it in garbage bags and send it to Deglo. Or burning, if you have a suitable place to burn. So that will reduce the level of infestation of the pest. Next slide. Crop rotation. So if we know what crops it affects, integrated pest management also speaks of cultural control, which entails crop rotation. So we know what crops to rotate to break the cycle of these pests. Do you all agree with me, people? Yeah. Hey. You all sleeping on me? Yeah. Okay, good. Let's continue. Plant health. This mango tree looks very healthy, right? In order to manage the scale, we have to take into consideration plant health. The plant must be healthy to resist the pest. We know that. If you have a sick child, the child will be prone or immune to flu or any virus. But if you have a healthy child, that child will run around and the flu will not take him or her very quickly. So the same principle applies to the plant. If we have a healthy plant, we know that the plant will be able to resist the scale. So proper irrigation, pruning, and also if we're using fertilizer, we know that we need to do a soil test. We have the agronomy department. So if you want to do a soil test, that can be done there. So we know what fertilizer to use. And also composting is also very critical, or it's important to help the soil vitality. Predator and parasitoid. Can you all see this substance there? You will see it better just now on the other side. This is the cytomol that is released from the scale. And we have a predator there, we have one of the ladybird beetles there. So we have the ladybird beetles, we have different species, we have the lacewing and we have parasitoids that can be used. These natural enemies will help control the pest population. Next slide. Now, Florida has done training or trials, and research on these two species of ladybird beetle, and it has worked effectively against the scale. Now we have another parasitoid right here. So in the event that the population of the scale increases and we do not want to resort to highly hazardous pesticide or HHPs, we can rear the ladybird beetle and release them in the atmosphere. Next slide. So this is one of the samples we collected from Roseau. Now this is the honeydew. So the scale sorry releases, as they feed on the sap, you release that honeydew. Then you get the cytomol. Now ants, you can see a lot of ants are right there. Ants have that symbiosis relationship with the scale. So they feed from the scale, and they protect the scales from predators and parasitoids. So we need to manage the ants. Once we can manage the ant population, we know that we can properly manage the scale. Next slide. Biological control. So we can do argumentative release, which I spoke about earlier on. Rearing the beetles and releasing them in the atmosphere. The only way that might not work if there is a high population of ants. So we need to manage the ants. Once we rear them, release them in the atmosphere, and they can manage the scale. Next slide. Chemical control. So in IPM, pesticide is the last resort. So if the economical threshold is above the normal level and we have to resort to pesticide, we need to use a safe, environmentally friendly pesticide, preferably one for green bun to manage. You can use nimbicide, which is also numectin can be used, and other insecticides. And also the horticultural oil, Next slide. The oil can be used. Now the oil is very effective, but you have to know the rate of application and the timing. If you use it during the day, it can burn. There can be phytotoxicity, meaning that it can burn the leaves. So you have to be very mindful when spraying any, even pesticide or horticultural oil, to manage the scale, that the plant will not be under stress. So late evening would reduce the plant stress and effectively manage the pest. Application timing. We know the crawlers are the most vulnerable stage. They don't have the thick fur on them. They don't have the thick coating, on them. So the pesticide can go through their skin quickly or easily. So what can be done once we know the timing, we can spray. And we have to avoid spraying, like I said, during afternoon time, my apologies. Because that way, it can burn the plant. So we need to spray when we know there's a high, and also avoid spraying when we know the biological organism, like the little beetles, are present. So if we know they're there, we don't have to spray because we'll kill both the beneficial and non-beneficial insects. Now this is what I was talking about, resistant management. The neem oil, sorry, otherwise I said pneumectin, no, neem oil. So neem oil and nimbacidine, both of them have the same active ingredients as a direct team. If you were to use that to manage the scale, you cannot rotate them. They are the same active, they have the same active ingredients. So we need to break the cycle of the pesticide. So if you use neem X, then you look for another friendly pesticide or safe pesticide to do a rotation with, but not neem oil. Manual removal. If the infestation level is low, we can do manual removal. We can remove the scale, crush it, kill them. Water spray can also be used. So it can be used in a mist blower and you can spray the plant. That shows some level of management. Farmers training is very important. So the farmer is supposed to know or should be aware of the pests and don't have that mindset that it's only for breadfruit. It's not only for breadfruit. It's a wide host of plants. So we need to properly train the farmers on integrated pest management and identify the pests and monitor and manage the pests. Extension services. You, the extension officers, need to work closely with the research department and also the farmers in management devices of that scale. Quarantine. If we know that region 1, the street over there, and the one in the south, or where we have planting materials being sold, this is very important so we can monitor the pest level of infestation. Implementation and timeline. This is part of the IPM strategies we're doing. We have a time frame. Some of them are for 3 months, for 3 to 12 months. What we'll do, conduct surveys, trainings, do reports, and educational outreach. All this is part of the integrated pest management. And we have some 1 to 3 years. And then when we have everything, we have collected all our data, we can collect it, analyze it, and give a report of the damage and the level of infestation in the country. In conclusion, by implementing this comprehensive IPM plan, Saint Lucia can effectively manage the Icerya seychellarum infestation, protecting crops and promoting sustainable agricultural practice. Next slide. This is a reference. Next slide. Thank you very much. So for the interest of time, Mr. Smith will come and do his presentation on the rosetting mats. Do you all have any questions?
Yes.
Yes.
Being a roseau is like the quote-unquote hot spot, or the most
one of the hot spots.
One of the hot spots, yeah, but based on what you said, they are the greatest infestation.
Yeah.
So what has been done? What control did you use? You cut down the tree, what did you
You
use?
saw all the photos I was showing?
Yeah.
That's what was done. They did pruning,
Yeah.
they did spraying with the mineral oil and the neem oil.
Okay.
And they used also the liquid, the mixture of water and the soap liquid.
Okay.
So all that was done. So the population level is reduced, has been reduced.
Okay.
And also the weather condition is very suitable for the reduction. High humidity, low population density for the pests.
How often do you all monitor that area?
How often? Well, what we're going to do now, we're going to do an annualized survey. And then
No, I mean for roseau itself. When was the last time you were down there?
well, we monitor roseau often.
Okay.
But what we really need to remind you is that we need to allow the natural end
Take, yeah, to fry.
Yes.
I'm not saying no, I'm just saying, okay,
Yeah.
this is an area hotspot.
That's right.
Alright, we did all those preventative measures. Alright, we went there last month. How often should we
It
go
has
back there?
been it's been monitored monthly, or you could say every fortnightly.
Thank
And
you.
the population density is low currently.
That's what I wanted to know, that we have it under control.
It is under control.
Beautiful.
No, have this.
Control is the natural enemies that keeping it in check.
I'm good with that. Once it's under control, I'm good with that.
Okay.
What's most important is that even if the natural enemies are keeping it in check, it is important not to move the material. And that's why we are just to be sure that you are aware that if you move material, contaminated material, you can move it through. But we will not be able to do full control if anything really, if the natural enemies don't take their rightful place and do their work.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Excuse me, you said earlier when it's the rainy season, the population is low.
Yeah.
So are you so sure if the natural enemy that taking place now or just the rainy season?
Because if the high rainfall, it can impact on the pest population.
Yeah.
You have high rainfall, the scale, it can kill them, so it will reduce the population. Now we have to do the monitoring with the 4 peaks, March, August, September, October, to see how it is. But we know in the rainy season, the population level is really low because of the impact of the rain. That's why irrigation is very important when you're managing that pest. So if you have the water, it can break down the pest.
So we are in the rainy season.
Yes,
So are we attributing the low population to the natural enemy or the
rainy
rainy season?
season. It can be both of them. So we have to go out on the field and identify the natural organism,
Yeah,
the predators and the
I
parasitors.
get the impression currently
Mhm.
the natural enemy that managing it.
No, that is not what was said. What she said, it can manage the pest population, but we know the rainfall, the impact of the rainfall would reduce on the population also. So it can be both simultaneously. Thank you. Mr. Smith.
Good morning, everyone. I just take you quickly through the tomato rosette mite. Thank you, Ms. Francis, for allowing me a few minutes. Since we have you on here, right, we're just trying to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Alright, so let's go back. Right. So the tomato rosette mite, scientifically known as the Acupulops lycophyceae, is a specific to tomatoes. It mostly targets the tomato plants or varieties of tomatoes. Right? So you already know all of the issues we have with tomatoes. This is just a list of some of the issues that presently we are faced with. So that's just an additional one. Right? So we just add into that list of problems in tomato production. Next. Alright, so this is the international distribution. You can see the areas in red would be where they might currently exist, where it's currently, where you can find it presently. Where for the Caribbean, you can see it's in Martinique already, so it's right next to us. So possibly this is one of the sources where it came from and it entered into Saint Lucia. It's in Trinidad, it's in Grenada. It has been declared in those areas. The absence of red for the other countries in the Caribbean does not mean that it's not present later. It just not declared the presence of the mite. Okay? Next. Okay, so what's important here is the symptoms on the plant. What you must look for, because the problem with that pest is that it's not visible to your eyes. Question?
Are we declared?
Everyone?
Are we declared it's present?
I know. I don't know.
Okay.
Locally we have discussed it, but I don't know internationally if we have put out it.
Okay.
Yeah. Alright, so the symptoms are important because you will not be able to see it with your naked eye. Right? So it's very important that you look at the symptoms of what the plant will be showing you at a very early stage, because this must be detected at the earliest possible time. Right? I cannot overstress the importance of hiding or detecting it at the earliest possible time on the plant. Right. So stem discoloration from mite feeding. This is one of the first things you're going to look out for. Foliage discoloration from feeding, and the progression. So you see the arrow I have here. So the progression is normally see on the plant is moving from brown to green. And that will happen throughout this step. So if it's an early case of infestation, then you might see it looking brown and the rest of the stem looking green. Alright? So that's what one of the first things you want to look for when you're looking for that, for the mites. Next. Okay, and this is again what we saw, the curling. So another important symptom to look for is the curling, the upward curling of the leaf. So the leaves curl upwards. That's what you have to look for. You need to look for upward curling. And stem discoloration, as I said earlier. So that upward curling, I don't know if you see it clearly, but you can see that the leaf is curled upward. If you look there, you see the curling upwards. So they curl and they almost like close. Yeah, so they curl and they like want to close. Almost grow like, right. Now, even more important is the symptoms in the young plants. So when you're looking at the plants just after transplanting, this is where you're going to see, not the browning, you're not going to see the browning, you're not going to see that stem discoloration yet because it's still at an early feeding stage, right? Most of the damage you're going to see later is because of the feeding that happened at that stage in the plant, okay? Now, what you're going to look for in this plant, you can see the leaves are curling upwards. I don't know if you can see that clearly, right? Now, this plant you see there is heavily infested with the mite. That plant that's looking all green and normal. So what you want to look for is that upward turning of the leaves, and almost like if you talk to the farmer will tell you, ask him, and he'll tell you almost like a plant is behaving like a stunted plant. It's not moving as it should. Okay? So, I mean, a plant is supposed to grow, it's supposed to see green. The farmer will tell you, okay, the plant is not moving, and if you see that sign, then you know, okay, you should maybe be looking for the mites. Alright? So this is one of the early signs. When we put this plant under the microscope, we'll be able to see a lot of mites on there. Okay? Next. This is just again, I was trying to get some good photos. I don't know if you can see it here, but you could see the browning, and you could see that green that area. So the transition point is almost here. When you're looking for the mites, right, since you all have the diagnoscopes in your office now, where you want to look for them is in this region. Yeah, from Maracaya recipient. Yeah. So the green spot, I think you were out at that time. The green spot here is where you're going to see the mites. Yeah? You're going to see the mites here. If you look here, if you're looking here, you're hardly going to see anything. You're not going to already see the pests happening here. What you're going to see is like empty shells, little like egg casings or whatever. Hey. Yeah? So yeah, so the feeding now, you will be feeding where the brown goes into the green. So when you're looking for them to try and detect them on the plant, you'll be looking in that region. Yeah? So always try to get to that place. And this is one of the detection tools you could hold with you in the field. Next. Right. So this is what it looks like under the microscope at a very, very high massification. Okay, this little kind of like wounds kind of looking, bluish looking thing. Yeah, so you can see it moving there. When it feels the light, it's going to start moving and things. But with your naked eye or even a magnifying glass, you're not going to see anything on the plant. Right? Yeah, everybody's seeing it, right? Yeah? Good. So this whole field there, and thanks to Nicholas that he discovered the pest. He was the one that already discovered it. Yeah. This is what the field looks like infested. All of those trees there are heavily infested with the mites present. Yeah, all of those plants, and they look greenish. But if you look closely, you'll see the curling upward of the leaf. Next. So you can see how many of them moving. And this is a very, very small piece of the leaf. Very, very small area on the leaf. And you can see on a small area what the amount of mites that you're dealing with on the area. Questions?
What area?
In Maki?
Yeah,
Maki Estate, yeah.
yeah.
Yes. One question at a time, please.
So in that case, what do you do
why it's so important that I was showing those photos earlier. So even at the nursery level, because according to the literature, what they're asking you is to, at your nursery level, you must see if you have the mite already in your plants. Because you don't want to bring in plants into your field that already have the mite.
So what will it do to the mites to the plants at that stage?
At that stage, well, I'll show you just now, what happened at that stage is that the farmer had an older plantation right next to his crop. And the wind was blowing into that crop, and the mites came across into the new planting. So I mean, Nicholas was on the field, we could have seen that relationship because we had the older crop, and he planted, and almost as soon as that, we started seeing these symptoms in the new planting. Yeah? So one of so you can immediately start seeing in management that you should not be planting new plants next to an infested crop. Yeah, crop rotation and not planting target crops, like tomatoes. Yeah.
Can I ask, in terms of cucumbers, we know cucumber is also a pest of mites. So they would not be associated with cucumber.
According to the literature, cucumbers didn't show up at all.
Okay.
According to all the papers I looked at.
Thank you.
So it has not been reported, or I have not read where it has been reported. Right? Okay, pest detected on the plants with fruit. Now, another downside of that is that the flowers are going to drop. You're going to get a lot of flower drop because of that pest usually. Sometimes the tomato will just not bring tomatoes for it. Because every time it tries to set the mite to take over all the flowers all around it and cause it to drop because of the feeding action. Okay? So what we saw with the farmer is that he had a very, very low yield where he had to just take out the crop. Now, what happened is that because he had it there so long, he had it there, he was waiting for a crop, and that cost him because that was big, he was using up the land area and all of that. So economics didn't make any sense to pick that crop. And that's why I give the advice. If I see that with that high infestation at that young stage, I'm going to recommend that area. Okay? Right, so based on the symptoms and microscopy and observation of the pest, that's how we did the identification. Right, so we did a local ID as a tomato recess mite, and then we sent it out for confirmation. Okay? So this is the locations so far it has been detected in Saint Lucia. 2 farms in Maki and 1 area in Maribo. Okay? If you want to go look at the map and zoom in, you can scan the QR code and go and mind the business. Okay? Right, so these are the farms in Maki, where the samples, these were samples that was actually sent out of Saint Lucia, and we got results from the lab in Korea from those samples. This is where now you could see this whole area is flat there, so you could see it's in that area and it's down there. It's about a kilometer apart, so we can safely assume that the whole area there is infested or has the mite because of the geography of the area. And you could see it up there. And this area is fairly buffered. You could see the buffering of this area. It's fairly buffered. And we still had a very, very high incidence of the pest in that area. So you can see that this thing can move. It moves on the air. So once the air picks it up, the air can carry it and move it very, very far long distances because you can see the size. Right? These are just the results from the sample. So it came back positive for tomato resin. Yeah, it was also detected at Maribo at the school. So region 7. Yeah, region 7 it's already there with you. Right? So it's at the school. It was doing some serious work in the school. But where the plant there, that's what they look like. I was on it. Yeah, that's the tomato leaf. Yeah, that's the tomato leaf, what it looked like on the at Maribo. Yeah? Next. Alright? So integrated pest management plan, right? It will significantly reduce your yields, losses of up to 65%, right? Okay? I gave you all that information already. Disposed by the wind, machinery, people, animals, insects, right? In extreme cases, the mite can kill the plant by feeding and reproducing. I think Nicholas, we saw that in the field, so you could almost say it was an extreme case. It's happening down there. Major part of the IPM plan is scouting and monitoring. And I've said that from before. It's important that the seedlings that you're putting in, or the farmer is putting in, are free of the mite. It has to be free of the mite. You don't want them to be planting plants that there's a progression. So brown to yellow to upward curly. Yeah? Make sense? Right. Okay, go up. Right. In older plants, external stem browning, so then eventually you start seeing that stem browning and fruits which are fed on. Oh yeah, the fruits, when they feed on the fruits, they become bronze and you get a lot of cracking on the tomato fruits. So they actually bronze in the fruit and you get cracking on the fruits. Right? The stem hairs that you see on tomatoes, they lose those hairs because of that browning. So the stem will become very smooth and bronze-like. So you will not see all those stems, nice little long hairs happening on the stem. Okay, next. Alright, so you all have the thing, you all have it equipped, you all good to go. Right? Next. Alright, so if you want this field one, you could scan the QR code and go and purchase it on Amazon. I think it's around $59 US. That one you can keep it in your pocket and use it on the field. It can detect the mites on the field. Or you can ask your head to buy it for them. Next. Right? Integrated pest management plan. Alright? So symptoms can be used as part of like you must use the symptoms as part of your IPM plan to narrow down the stage. So what we're recommending is that you use the symptoms to narrow down a possible specimen that might have the infestation. You use the diagnoscope to try to get a more positive detection, and then you move forward with your IPM. If it's there, then you need to take action. Younger plants display signs such as upward curling after transplanting, as you've seen earlier in the presentation. If the field has a history of tomato rosette mite or nearby tomato fields are infested with the pest, daily inspection of young transplants is required. Right? And not from the time you spot one, when you're able to just see one, you have to start spraying and because right, you spray disease, and that's right. Scouting can be challenging, yeah, because you can't see the mite. Next. Right? Some important things to note about the biology of the pest is that the development of an egg to an adult can be as little as 6 to 7 days under the right conditions. That is very, very important, and that gives you an indication of how quickly your pest load can go up. 6 to 7 days from egg to adult. Right? So you can see in a crop of about a month and a half how many generations could possibly happen. Okay? The female lays up to 50 eggs. Eggs hatch in 2.3 days. Right? And the females live for about 22 days and the males live an average of 60 days. Also, the temperature, they're very temperature sensitive and weather sensitive, so I'll go into that. Next. Alright, so cultural practices use clean transplants. I've stressed that enough. Reduce or avoid abiotic stressors. Right. You always know we have a history of stressing our plants after transplanting. You need to reduce that as much as possible. And one of the recommendations that we made in the field is to actually give your supplements, your different boosters, to really make sure at a young age a plant can take off. Because you don't want that plant under water stress and at the same time dealing with a mite infestation. That's a combined trigger. Avoid planting transplants near infested tomato fields. Avoid establishing alternate crop hosts near the new tomato plantings. Alternative hosts are like eggplants, peppers, but they are alternative hosts. They are not ideally what the plant wants. So they will only rest there for a little bit. There's some weeds as well. They will only relax there until they actually get a plant where you can reproduce. Okay, new tomato transplants can become infested from alternate hosts, right? Such as eggplants and pepper. Where possible, farmers in areas with extremely hot and dry spells during the latter part of the dry season, they want to stay away from cultivating tomatoes to decrease the pest load on their crops. So that's almost when exactly we saw it in Maki at that period. Yeah, it was very, very hot, very dry, and it was behaving. And I think the plants were stressed as well from those conditions. Yeah, so that gave rise to the high. Okay, timely or control or removal of weeds, and we know that goes for all pests and disease. And even this farmer here, we found he was fairly well controlling his weeds, and still he had a very high load. So now, what you were asking earlier, we had a picture of it. This is the drain that separates, yes, a drain with no water. Okay? So that was the separation. Avoid preparing seedlings near infested field. This is one of the things we find a lot. That the farmers would have his nursery right next to the tomatoes. Am I wrong or am I right?
Right.
Good. So if he has tomatoes growing in the field and he has his nursery right there, most probably those plants are already infested even before he goes out to plant them. Good. Oh yeah, your nursery right there. Alright, go back. Come back. Use recommended plant density, plant one row. Yeah, so another one was that we also recommend that you plant one row at the center of the bed to help with treatment. Because when you're treating now, you want to ensure that you get as much coverage of the plant as possible. You do not want when you have the two leaves in the middle of the bed covering each other and you're not able to treat that center of the bed there. So we're recommending that you use the one row per each and you're able to now spray on both sides when you pass it from this next. Right. So the recommended one is pressurized sprayers. The knapsack sprayer I don't see being much help in controlling that very small mite. So the recommended spray apparatus would be your mist blowers or those sprayers that come with the motorized thing behind them, because you want to get a very fine droplet to increase your surface area of coverage under the leaves. So when you spray now, you're passing on both, so you're able to do the two sides when you're passing through the drain, and you give that motion because you want to get under the leaves. So your motion is you come up so that the leaves you get under the leaves with the motion. So it's a motion of coming up. Yeah. Right? Use also ensuring that they use, so what you could recommend is that they use Wasco water when they spray. Because sometimes the spray water, the pH, can actually affect the mixing of the pesticide. That's something we don't really pay much attention to. Cletus can tell you more about our material pesticides. Okay? Spread and sticker. Please, because what you want to do is ensure, because you have so many of those, because in practice what it looks like when you look under the leaf, you see so many mites. So as much as possible, you want the chemical to come in contact as much as possible with those mites to really reduce the thing. So spread a sticker, must, right? Okay? These are some of the registered chemicals for the mites that we have locally, and Cletus will soon be adding a few to the list. Hopefully he's here. Or he'll remove of it. Right? Okay. Alright, so we're hoping to have a few tutorial videos that can actually show you the symptoms, how to detect, treatment, and management, so that you can share those with your farmers via WhatsApp. Next. Okay, good. Thank you. I'm done. Any questions?
QR code for questions?
No, the QR code is for the presentation if you want it.
Oh,
Yeah. So you just scan the QR code and you can get the presentation on your phone, you'll be able to download it.
Questions. The variety that it was found in.
The variety it was found was symbol.
Only.
Yeah, but it doesn't seem to have any variety preference. All varieties seem to be showing the same signs right now. I don't see you having a variety resistant to it because of the nature of the pests. And the literature I reviewed didn't show any such approaches for management, variety-wise. Yeah? Right? So scan the QR code for the presentation so you could have it with you if you want to review it, if you want to use it to talk to your farmers. Thank you very much, Laura, for the time.